Welcome to the Radical Responsibility Revolution podcast. This is where we are transforming lives, inspiring you to reclaim your health, your wealth, and the power of your mind. Here we share actionable insights, inviting you to turn inwards and design your life of purpose and abundance. So, welcome back to another episode of Radical Responsibility Revolution. Now, what do you get when you cross a galactic shaman, a dragon whisperer, and a woman who literally broke her pelvis on the road to awakening? Well, we get today's guest, Sandra Pelly, a living, breathing bridge between worlds. And you know how I love those bridges between the worlds. And one of the few people who can make inner child meets inner dragon sound like a spiritual rite of passage instead of a Pixar film. Sandra helps people turn the whispers of their soul into a full body roar. And she's the author of a spiritual how-to, the creator of the Sacred Spiral Oracle deck. You know how much I love an Oracle deck. And the cosmic midwife for your own inner dragon, the part of you that's done playing small. We got to stop doing that, ladies. So buckle up, light your sage, and maybe keep a fire extinguisher nearby because we're going to talk power, frequency, and the kind of self-love that burns down old stories to make room for your truth. And welcome, Sandra. I'm so excited to have this conversation. And there's going to be some fire. We're going to light some fire. And what I begin with every podcast is asking my guest, who is Sandra today? We'll talk about history and how your dragons got you to where you are and all of those wonderful things. But who are you in this moment? Who is Sandra Pelly right now?
I love this question. This is a question very few people, if any, ask. So it's a big question. Who am I today? I am this woman who is incredibly confident in what she's doing. I am a person who likes to take challenges and turn
Mm.
them into, life adventures versus a challenge. I am a person who really cares about themselves and really understands that humans have so altered the meaning of selfish when it is such a powerful place to actually be paying attention to that selfish part of yourself. It really changed my life when I chose to step into loving myself. That's the
Yeah,
self and the selfish, right?
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the first thing that you said, well, the second thing actually, is that you're turning challenges into adventures. And this is why it's so important to reframe how we look at the light and the dark, the yin and the yang, the good and the bad, because we have these duality labels that we have created. Well, there's imprinting going on, but at the end of the day, we choose those. So why don't you give us a little bit of insight as to what that might look like, a specific experience that you turned a challenge into an adventure, because I know you have a ton of them, but I want people to get really grounded into what we're about to talk about. This life is an adventure. If you get curious and you stay open, holy moly, stuff happens.
You know what? I think one of the most powerful ones that occurred for myself was about 3 years ago when inner dragon energy really started to come up. And I was like, what the heck is that? I haven't seen it anywhere, and I am absolutely clueless to what this is. And it kept slapping me in the face and going, we need you. We need you to tell people about this. And so that was the first challenge. It was overcoming the hurdle of, I don't know anything. Do I want to know anything? As well as it's scary to step into something that isn't already trackable or known out there in the world. So what happened is it was quite comical, actually. I had done a stint of caring for my parents in a different city. I was driving home and my truck engine blew, and I was 1,000 kilometers from home, about 800 miles from home, and I had to go and get a hotel room because I was obviously going nowhere with this truck. And in there I was like, okay, what do I do now? I am stuck here for 2 or 3 days. The weather may not be best to be out hiking. I did not have my bicycle with me, and I'm an avid mountain biker, so it was like, you have to sit here and do something. So I asked, what do you want me to do here? And I was essentially shown that, Kate, you have all these oracle and tarot decks with you. Why don't you ask or interview the inner dragon for the
Ooh,
world? Not for
I've got
me, but for the
you're
world.
You're giving me goosebumps. Keep going.
And so that's what I did. Over the next 24 hours ish, I sat down and I used, I believe it was 6 of the 7 decks that I had with me, and asked about the inner dragon. It's actually a whole YouTube series on my YouTube channel. And it just was like, okay, well, this is the first step now of starting to understand what the inner dragon was. And that's when I started to realize that our inner child, that little you within us, has always been such a beautiful protector. And the inner dragon has been there supporting that inner child in a very magical way as the protector and the leader. Not a
Mhm.
protector per se, but the leader, the one that wants to take you places, and inviting that inner child to start to pay attention to the little woohoos in their life, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's so much. And I got goosebumps as you're talking about that because we have the ability, and I just can't emphasize this enough to people in general, women especially, that we have the ability to ask the questions and get answers. Not necessarily through ChatGPT, which I love, through Google, which is nice. I'm going to start talking woo woo. And I say this all the time. Woo woo is science. It is. And if you think about science, it's a discovery process. We don't know everything about everything, even at this point. We think we do, and people keep throwing out the word science, but this is truly science and it's being proven day after day after day. But you're engaging a part of ourselves that is connected. So that is so brilliant that you can ask these questions. And this inner dragon is such an interesting idea that that's why I was so drawn to you in the first place, is because I love being connected with the inner child. I was having a podcast yesterday with somebody and talking about how we have gotten so far removed from our childlike nature. That's the true nature of who we are. But we've got all these masks and all these layers and all of that. So explore this a little bit more, what this inner dragon is and how it's so connected to our inner child in today's practical world, because that's really what people want to know. I can talk about woo till the cows come home, and then it's like, okay, what do I do with that? So let's get down to some really practical conversation about it because it's brilliant.
This is the nitty gritty. People are often looking, and myself included, outside of themselves for guidance. The inner child is one of those pieces who has very much ruled our life. Like I said, it's been the protector, it's brought us to this point, right? I want to share with you that the inner dragon is very much a part of your inner self as well. It's not a guide that is out there somewhere. It is actually a part of yourself. I'm going to give you a really good example. So just take a few normal breaths. Now take a couple breaths as your inner child.
You know, the first thing I notice is
Okay.
laughter. Yeah.
Good. I love that. Hang on a second now. Now breathe as your inner dragon.
Hmm.
There are 3 distinct breaths that we are taking.
Hmm.
3 distinct breaths. And you all know, each and every one of you, when you have stopped to take that deep breath. That
Hmm.
is you engaging that inner dragon. That's what I really want to emphasize the most, is it has been a part of you since day one.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Tell us about the inner child, because there are 3 distinct breaths there, isn't there?
The inner child, and just the more I'm connected with it, because I am 70 years old, so I have had a opportunity in a lifetime to cover up that inner child, as much work as I've done within it. And so what for me it really represents, and the feeling that came up, was just laughter. And when we're laughing and breathing at the same time, it is a different breath than when I say I'm working out at the gym or walking in the park. And so it was just that it was a more bubbly feeling laughter. And then the inner dragon, well, the regular breath was just, I think we're very shallow breathers, period.
Yes.
And yet the inner dragon, I can feel that fire energy, because it really is just that, and almost like I can breathe out that fire. That is so cleansing and so transmuting that it feels very powerful. And when you say that our inner child has been running us, I've been talking about that for decades, that between the age of 1 and 8 in our alpha brainwave states, we download all of this crap and then we go out and we live our lives based on what an 8-year-old taught us, which is
Exactly.
okay. And yet to feel this congruency of this now inner dragon that can help bring us through the magical forest is just a brilliant thought process. So how do you bring this together with the people, the women that you teach, or the overall clientele?
It's discovering your archetype. And that was the
Mhm.
next step after discovering, first of all, the inner dragon and coming to understand everything about it, interviewing the inner dragon. It was finding out that there were actually archetypes. So
Wow.
that puts us in a very powerful position because when you do the archetypal quiz that I have, this
Yeah.
dominant archetype, then you discover which inner dragon has been assisting you all along. And it actually
Mhm.
coordinates with one of your main 7 chakras as well. And it's fascinating to watch that because in the dominant inner dragon archetype, mine was a healer and is a healer. And I had to heal all my childhood wounds, meaning that I had to
Mhm.
learn how to heal myself, learn to love myself. And I know that this will sound like, well, that's everybody. Well, it is, except there are different ways of doing it. Okay.
Right.
So where someone else, mine was heart, healer, heart. I have people who are their dominant inner dragon archetype are guardians. Well, they've guarded themselves, they've shut down themselves, so
Mm.
it's learning how to take away the guarding and become somebody else, right? Well, become the natural you that you're supposed to be, not somebody else per se. And then there's the like if you start with that quiz, it's really enlightening to discover what you actually are because it's so bang on, let's put it that way. And then from there, you could, or even if you don't know all that information, you could do a leading inner dragon archetype quiz. And the
Mhm.
leading one is what is the one that's going to take you from where you are right now into where you want to go. Or even if you don't know where you want to go, it gives you the steps. It starts to show you the manner of how to move forward. It's such a powerful thing.
I'm putting all those links in the show notes. So everybody, I always tell the audience, get into action, do something. So this is your first step in this process. And I want to just put this into a context that and I'm the same person that does this, is looking at all of these different ways to categorize ourselves. So there's human design, there's Myers-Briggs, there's Mayan astrology chart that I did recently, and there's now this that is all of these things in and of themselves are wonderful tools or toys. But this is so brilliant because it also opens up such a portal for us to walk through with our own guides. Because I hear women say all of the time, my guides and my this and my that. And some people feel a little bit left out because they haven't experienced a guide. They don't even know what that would even look like. And to me, it feels exclusionary, and taking a assessment something like this where you can really reflect on who that guide is, and then you might see other guides, but it is a stepping stone in or a bridge to that place, because that's lovely to understand that we come in to practice whatever it is that we chose to come into this world with. So give one more example. You talked about the healer and the guardian. Just one more so that people can say, oh, she did talk about that. That might be who I am. Because they don't know until they hear something like this that they want to go discover that.
Exactly. I just wanted to also point out that once you know your archetype, the dominant archetype or the leading one, you will find that this is way easier than a lot of the other archetypal type of quizzes out there.
Oh, yeah.
Not the quiz per se, but the information that comes through. It's
Right.
way more straightforward. Having
Yeah.
said that, the seeker. I love the
Ah.
seeker one because the seeker is a person who has been seeking their entire life, meaning that they are so
Hmm.
knowledgeable. They'll have probably their hands in the pot in so many different places, right? And then
Hmm.
if you line it up with the chakras, if it's say the creator chakra, well, they're seeking to figure out how to create something, right? If
Hmm.
it's the rooted chakra, the root chakra, then maybe they've been seeking for affirmations, people to love them, or possibly maybe it's the seeker in the crown chakra, that they're actually looking for knowledge. They're finding knowledge that's going to expand their way of looking at the world, right?
Hmm.
Like there's so many intricate little pieces to this. And I know that when you start to break it down, it sounds like it might be complicated, but believe
Hmm.
me, if you took the quiz, you'll go, oh my gosh, this is so me.
Well, I'm gonna think I haven't even done it yet, honestly. I'm gonna assume that I'm the seeker because I can't help seeking everything. And yet, this is what's brilliant about this is that it is connected to a chakra. So I know I've had this conversation with many guests. And I will continue to say, let's talk about what a chakra is. Because believe it or not, there are still people on the planet
Sure.
that have no idea. They hear the word and go, what are they talking about? So let's talk about chakras just for a quick minute and then go through what the seven are so that people can begin to correlate with the fact Einstein says everything's energy. That's our energy center. And we are ignoring it for a lot of the time. So let's just talk about chakras, just a quick overview of what that is.
Overview. For sure. Chakras in simplicity are energy portals within yourself. And they are literally almost basically in a straight line up and down. And whether you start at the ground or whether you start at the top, it is when they are in alignment, it's really interesting to feel the energy. And when they're
Mhm.
out of alignment, there is stuff going on in your life and you can feel that you are off. So when we start with them, I often start with the Earth Star, which is the one beneath your feet. However, the next one in line is your root at the tailbone, and that's about foundation. Then there's the sacral chakra, which is in your abdomen, which makes entire sense because this is the creative center. When you're in your belly, that is the solar plexus. I believe that's what resonates for myself is that's where the inner child lives. And it is
Mhm.
where that energy comes in and we feel yucky about something or we feel really excited about something. And I just really want to say too about that solar plexus area where the inner child lives is that it is sometimes just a simple thought of thinking, I would like to step into this instead of being scared, that will change what that feeling is in your belly. Okay, so I want to give you that little
Mm.
clue or tip or advice. Coming up into the heart chakra, that's your connection with nature and all that there is. Your throat chakra is seeking your personal truth. And that isn't the truth that you're going around and spewing at other people, do this, do that. No, it's about how you are actually choosing to take care of yourself. This has been a really big thing. If you think you need to focus on this, this is actually me, myself, and I need to take care of
Mhm.
myself, right? Coming up, we go to the third eye, and this is what that intuitive center or that way that we see everything out there. And then the crown chakra as well, and that's where we're getting all this incredible information coming in from everywhere. And I really like the pineal chakra, which is between the third eye and the crown, which is the filtration system, because I think that that is one that is so overlooked and should actually
Yes.
be one of the 8 main chakras. So yeah,
Hmm. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So much to unpack there. I want to start with where the inner child is, the solar
in the
plexus.
belly.
Yeah, but what you said was we can either choose to step into this or be in fear of it. So just expand on that a little bit because that
Sure.
really is we stay stuck from fear. That's where the stuckness comes from and it's so fascinating to watch when we shift out of it or feel courageous enough to move through it. So talk about what that is the way you just explained that because that was really key when I heard that.
It is super important. So if something comes up in your life and let's say it is like say it's an argument and now you want to have a discussion about it, but you've got this feeling in your stomach, and that feeling in your stomach is actually stopping you from having the discussion. Literally stop and take a breath and ask yourself, okay, is this excitement or is this fear? And
Mhm.
there's going to be both cases because I'm not sure what each of the individuals who are listening to what your lives are like, right? So if it's a conversation that could lead you into an incredible moment in your relationship or an incredible moment in something that you're doing, then stop and take that breath and go, okay, is this fear or is this excitement? Diagnose that. Take a look and
Mhm.
feel into that. And when you can choose that it is actually excitement, you'll notice that you overall feel a little bit different than when you
Mhm.
did before. And now you can actually go into that conversation in a much more powerful manner versus that fear that is holding you back. So diagnosing what's going on in your belly is very important.
I love the fact that you use the word diagnose because we have been programmed that diagnosis comes from this outer person, generally called a doctor or some sort of health provider. And what I have believed for probably my whole adult life is that we have the ability, this little pharmacy that we live in has the ability to know. I mean, diagnosis is just having a question with ourselves. So I just love that word in this context because it brings a different mm, energy to what we're talking about here. So we have the ability to diagnose. You did that with the oracle cards when you shared that story. You're talking about it now. So let's move up to the perineal gland because I love that so much that it's so tiny. It's like the size of a pea and so powerful in this body, this meat stick that we live in. So I want you to share about that a little bit more because it's so important and it's as if most people don't even know what it is. So let's dive into that a little bit.
For sure. It came to my attention years and years ago, and it was either Joe Dunning or Louise Hayes that had one of these 2-hour events where they did an hour long of preparation, et cetera, et cetera. And then Dron Velo was another person who was doing these activations with the pineal chakra. And for myself, it was another one where, okay, it takes you 2 weeks if you do his one, right? So I was thinking
Mhm.
to myself, well, it's got to be simpler than that to activate this pineal chakra. It truly has to be. And
Has to
the
be.
world has shifted and changed so much today
Mhm.
that we are in the position where we're powerhouses and we're being invited. I'm going to shift out of we have to do something.
Yeah.
We are being invited to really start to acknowledge that we are a very powerful being. And so the pineal chakra, as mentioned, is between your crown and your third eye, and it is a filtration system. So the things that you're seeing around you, like the numbers and the symbols, the thoughts that are coming through from the divine or source or whatever else you call it, it comes through that filtration system, and it drops in so that you can start to actually understand things a little bit better. A really good example of this is. Um, I remember driving in the vehicle with my husband, and he was saying something about how he didn't like his life and that. And I was ready to just rant and rave at him. And I thought, well, that will solve absolutely nothing. So I'm just going to sit over here and be quiet for a bit and see what wants to come through. And so
Mm.
it was probably half an hour later. And I had this thought of, oh, okay, interesting. And then I was able to go, you know what? We have actually had an incredible life. We have done so much traveling, and nobody in your family has done any traveling, right? And he was silent over there. And it was probably about a month later that we were out and about at an event, and I heard him saying to somebody, "You know what? I have lived this incredible life. I have traveled so much, and my family has done none of that." And it's like it's where you give yourself the space. You give yourself the space to let these things come through. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So much, as I said, that it's also juicy and it's just so easy to go to these places. And I think that more than anything, that's what the world needs to hear is that we have to take a breath, connect with ourselves and this consciousness, and then wait to hear the answer because there's this quick I mean, from the keyboard warriors on this thing called social media and our phones and everybody's and they don't ever slow down to connect with this beautiful energy and how beautiful that was. And that gave me goosebumps again to hear that he said that because when we hear our own words reflected back to us when we've given it to somebody and I was hearing a story about somebody that it was 12 years later. Oh, it was Ray Romano on Everyone Loves Raymond. They were doing a 30-year reunion and his brother, the cop, gave him a note when he went off to Hollywood. And it wasn't until 12 years later that they were doing the final show that Ray Romano, because his brother was like, I guess he never read it. I mean, this gives me goosebumps. He pulled it out of his pocket at the final call and read it. And that was the first time that his brother knew that he even read it.
because that's how life is. That is such a beautiful story that about your husband, but it also just reflects that it is the slowing down that will allow us to become more of who we are. Now,
Can I
there's a
just
lot of
expand on this? Can I just expand on this real
absolutely
quick? Because
100%.
this is so important. So if you see a symbol, if you see a number, what were you thinking of or what were you speaking about just before that? Because that is why that number or that symbol is showing up, is to show you that you are on the tip of something. You are immersing yourself into the power of something right there. Thank you for letting me expand a little bit.
Well, that's a very interesting concept because I am surrounded by people that see the numbers, right? I honestly, I don't really, I'm not keyed into doing that. It's just not my thing, but I'm around people all the time. But here's what happens is, and so I think this is a good distinction, is that they'll say, okay, so whatever their number is, 11777, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, I saw it again. You texted me at this time and there's no connection. It's just I saw it. So I think that's a really important piece that to know what the signal might be, not just that you see the numbers, because that feels like that's what's happening a lot. So
Yes.
I love that you brought that distinction in because that's gonna, as far as I'm concerned, that should help people sort of understand what the message is because there's messages everywhere. This is what I've always said. You could have a message on a billboard from the universe. I could have it, on a note that I wrote 12 weeks ago and I look down and go, oh my God, there's the message. Because that's how it works. It's so beautiful that the messages are everywhere. So let's talk about, we're right before the beginning of 2026. We are moving into, we're already in the age of Aquarius. So this all has impact on what's happening. And I know that there's a lot of people in the world that feel like we're in this chaos and that there's drama and trauma. And I'm like, oh my God, as far as I'm concerned, chaos is right before order. So whatever that order is going to look like, it's going to be. So I imagine because you're so involved in all of this connection, you have some insight. I'm not saying that you're predicting it, but what is your sense? What is your feeling for the energy that is emerging here, especially in this 2026 upcoming?
In the last few months coming into even, this week, I've really noticed a shift of awareness, meaning that uh, individuals who have been thinking that they want to do or feel or be something, that they're actually shifting towards that in a much more profound manner. An example of this is so here's the signs coming together, right? I recently started something called a sacred echo, a sacred echo circle, because I have an inner sanctum, and I saw how incredible the people were in gathering the information and really becoming powerful people in their own right. And so I wanted to extend this out and start to have this ripple effect for other people rather than just my inner sanctum, and so create this sacred echo of this. And one of the individuals in there was unable to make it to one of the calls, and so she listened to the recording, and then she came back to me and said, well, I'm not sure what our homework is. And I very much individualize it, because it is an individual journey, our growth, our power, our
Mhm.
becoming of oneself, right? And so I sat down with her yesterday, actually, and um, as you do the inner dragon archetype, there are mantras that are given to you that are about your physical, your emotional, your spiritual, and your self identity. It is a blanket mantra group, and then you readjust them to create it for yourself. And when we sat down and recreated this for herself, she could already start to see where she really truly was in all of that in such a powerful manner. She said to me, um, oh, I've changed so much since you first met me, because I met her back in 2017, 16, right? And I'm way more confident. And I could see that. I could see she was way more confident. However, she was still at that point where she wasn't expressing that confidence to herself. Yes, she was more confident outwardly, but it wasn't showing inside by the small little words. And when we altered the wording of these mantras, it just became this power piece for her that she's moving into in a far different way. And that's what I'm noticing as we're shifting through all this chaos, is that we're finding our way in a much more powerful manner. And that's what's going to continue to happen. So we're
Mhm.
blessed on one hand. And if we can look at the blessings and the silver
Yeah,
linings to what's happening,
yeah,
boom.
yeah. Focus on the good.
Yeah.
I love what you said, but I don't think I know what a sacred echo is.
It's my name for the group. Like it's the
Okay.
first sacred echo, and then there'll be another sacred echo.
Okay.
So it's these echoes. So it's just like when someone tells you something incredible about yourself,
Hmm.
I love saying that I'm mirroring you,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's the
Mhm.
echo. So when they talk about the butterfly, that it creates
Yeah.
this ripple around the
Hmm.
world, that's what the
Hmm.
sacred echo is for me. It's
Yeah.
it's this ripple effect that I'm starting to create using the inner dragon energy and so much more with the mantras and the breath.
Yeah. I love that. It's much better than what I would say. Sometimes learned in 12-step programs. You spot it, you got it. So when you see somebody doing something you don't enjoy, it's only because you can have that piece in you. But I switched it and said, it's also for the brilliance, for everything. So I love the sacred echo. I'll start using that languaging because it really is. We are reflecting each other at every second. This is what I
Mhm.
love about this planet. If we could all just get on board with this idea that we're all one, we're looking in the eyes of God every moment, then how can I hate you? How can I hold you, as you're not good? It's a very fascinating thing we do here.
I want to give an example of this as well. Not
Yeah.
necessarily the word sacred echo, but the mirroring. I
Yeah.
remember going down into the basement to have a conversation with my husband, and he went at me, and I went back at him, and I walked back up the stairs, and I'm like, I'm just mirroring you. Because I certainly didn't go downstairs with that attitude. It wasn't until he did it. So many years later, probably in this home that we're in now, I said something to him, and he said something to me, and he goes, "I'm just mirroring you." So it is that recognition that if you're
Mhm.
going into something and you've got a certain kind of energy and your energy entirely shifts, you wonder what the heck just happened. It is because you've mirrored somebody's energy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love though that your stories about your husband, he's listening to you. This is what I'm taking away. He listens to you whether you will, you're thinking in that moment. So let's talk about because we've talked about a couple of areas, but I did introduce you as the galactic shaman. So tell me how you crowned yourself with that and what does that mean? Tell us what that exactly means.
First of all, it was not a name that I gave myself. It was a name that
Oh,
was gifted to me from another, the storytelling astrologer. Actually, she gave it to me. And
nice.
the shaman piece of that, I really truly feel that I'm a shaman. I've had some experiences that show that I'm a shaman from many eons ago. And I just want to kind of say a little bit about that as well, because I think it's really important to understand. And you've already kind of broached a bit of this subject. It's that um, I had a big fear when I discovered that I'm the shaman from the beginning of time or whatever, right? And it's like, yeah, right, first of all. And then, okay, what do I do with that? And then it's also to the judging of oneself because I'm not
Yeah.
like, in Peru or something like that, correct?
Hmm. Oh,
And
yeah.
so I actually went and I did a basic shaman course. And what I
Mm,
discovered at that basic shaman course is that I was doing all those things already.
yeah.
And I think that is probably a really big message that I'd like to drive home is if you are being told you're doing this and or you've got this incredibleness, understand that it is already like a very much a part of you, and it's a remembrance, not a learning that we're going through.
Yes.
It's a remembrance, and you said this earlier, Debbie.
Mhm.
Uh, so this galactic shaman thing, I really, I'm big energy, and I'm unsure if everybody can feel that, but I'm very big energy. So I take up a lot of room energetically. And when I do processes or channel information, I'm the type of channeler that remembers most of it. And I also am very conscious of the fact that when I'm doing something, and when I say that doing something, I mean channeling, that I will start here. I start here with myself. It spreads out to the group, and that's where the ripples and the echoes occur. It goes out to the group, and then it goes out to, wherever they are, their room, their house, their town, their state, their province, their country, their continent, and I can feel it going literally all over the world, kind of thing, and even going out past the world into the universe and the multiverses. And that's why I have been considered the galactic shaman, because it's not
Mhm.
something that I'm keeping very central and very core. It's this beautiful energy that goes out and expands, ever flowing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you did bring this to that aspect that we do not need a certification, a piece of paper, a blessing from somebody else to be who we truly are. And I've said this, and I said this when we first originally chatted, was shamans typically, this is just typical, have been men. So even the idea that you're a woman and you didn't have all the Peruvian, whatever, South American training that they say you have to go and do and be in a, do your walkabout or whatever is so powerful because I feel like I have shaman-like energy. I'm not anywhere near what you're talking about. And yet we have this energy within us. And it is so challenging when we first feel it and then people say it and it's like, who am I? The imposter syndrome takes over more than anything. So I love the beauty of you acknowledging it, owning it, and saying, this is the truth. The truth is you don't need somebody to tell you or bless you or give you a certificate. So that's number one. Number two, this whole idea of being connected intergalactically, to me, that is the best because I'm all about dimensions and multiverses and everything. And it is so beautiful if we begin to connect to that biggerness of who we are rather than this littleness. And so you do talk about playing small in your conversation. So let's talk about why do most people, do you think, want to play small? What is the thing that keeps us stuck in being small?
The inner child. Right? It's the vicious circle.
Just set that one
Uh,
up for you, right?
Yeah, well, and the thing is you said something too earlier. You said that we're living it as an adult, but as that 8-year-old child. I really think that, especially North America, I'm unsure about other continents, but
Yeah.
North America for sure, are very caught up in everything that we did and heard as a child, and that's how we
Mhm.
have to be as an adult. And when we start to break out of those limitations, it's really incredible what happens. And one of the ways that I did that was literally by starting with a very beautiful mantra. And I'm going to breathe our way through this right now. So take a moment to take a breath with me. I am
Mhm.
open with no expectations, no limitations, and I am consciously aware I am creating my outcome. Thank you. When I first started that mantra, that last sentence was, I'm okay with the outcome. And
Yeah.
even that was a big shift, because if you're not okay with the outcome, then you for
Mhm.
sure have either expectations or limitations. So if it's easier to say I'm okay with the outcome instead of what I said about being consciously aware that I am creating my outcome,
Mhm.
if you say I am okay with the outcome and it sticks and it's a yucky feeling, then start to look at yourself and, where do I have an expectation? Where
Right.
do I have a limitation? Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that these basic steps, you could tell people to, oh, just do this, just do that.
Mhm.
However, it's the small things like the breath, when we recognize that, oh, I do have an inner dragon in me. I'm taking that deep breath right now, right? Oh, there's my inner child. I've got this thing happening in my belly. What is that? Oh, is it
Mhm.
like, you may expect it to be excitement, and then it's, oh, it's actually fear. I'm scared to make this step. Why am I scared to make this
Mhm.
step? Right? Like, you
Mhm.
could start to again ask questions, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't know if
So
that answered the question, but it definitely gave a lot more
yeah,
to the.
it gives context. And for me, when I'm hearing you share, I'm hearing the same thing that so many of us when we get on this path, understand it's awareness.
Yes.
And you can't get awareness without slowing down. You just can't. I mean, that's in connecting with our breath. The breath is our life force, and we treat it as if it's non-existent, really, because we aren't even aware when we slow down. And even what you've done several times now, this connection of paying attention to our breath, that is awareness. That is awareness of this thing that we are being. And what you said was there's so many ways to people can teach us to do something, and I'm so over the doing because the doing doesn't get us anything but more doing more. It's about being. And that's the essence of what I'm hearing you say. And I've heard so many people really acknowledge this throughout this time. And I've been teaching it forever. And I'm thinking, oh my God, there's a whole world of us out there because it's being this energy. And so, how does somebody begin to work with you? Because I want to put your information on the show notes, and I want to connect
For sure.
with people that resonate with this because I know that there's so many of us out there and everybody has their own resonance. Tell us how that looks for working with you.
For sure. First of all, I want you to know that I am very accessible. I'm very accessible. SandraPelli.com is my website, and that's probably the easiest way to do it. You guys can read my name on the screen there. If you just look that up on any Google or whatever, you will find me. I'm available on Facebook. I'm available on YouTube. Drop me a message anywhere, and I will answer it. And it's me that's answering it as well right now. And I see that in the foreseeable future, it being me answering the message. Um, my biggest thing is if you are in the position where you're ready to start to, I just like the word take control of your life. But if you're starting to think, you know what, I'm ready to step into my life in a different manner, then I am definitely the one of the people who will walk with you to help you to get into the next area of your life that feels right for you.
Yeah. Okay, so I heard a conversation the other day, so that we're going to bring this kind of in a different vortex because I always love to talk about how AI is affecting all of this, the woo-woo, if you will. And so it was Elon Musk. He was with the Nvidia guy and this Saudi Arabia thing. He says this statement, in 10 or so years, there won't be any need for currency because he's making robots. And so he's basing it on another guy, Elian, who wrote the Culture series. So here's the trajectory. In this amount of time, robots are going to do everything. So therefore, we won't need to buy anything because everything will be cheap. And, I mean, it's a theory. However, let's just take that to its nth degree. Let's say that we get to that place. Who then is the person that we're living as on the planet? If everybody's getting everything done for them, we still have this core energy of our beingness. I know this is off the wall and this is completely out of left field, but I think it's really an interesting. I've started asking my own self questions. Well, what would that look like? Is everybody going to sit around like a blob? Or does that allow us, because we're on a trajectory, 2026 is going to shift and change us in a way we can't even imagine right now. Life is moving so fast, and we can either stay connected to our beingness or we give our lives away. That sort of seems like the two options to me. And like I said, I know I'm throwing this at you completely out of left field,
Oh yeah.
but because you have so much inner guidance and wisdom, Miss Shaman, what feels like what might be coming up for you?
I would say that if how does this want to come through? Bear with me here a moment.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
one word really shone through for me that popped into my existence here while you were speaking, and that was purpose. And
Mhm.
when we think about the fact that maybe there is robots and AI, taking the place of people, what is our purpose? And I think that this is a question that man has asked their entire lives and through the entire existence of mankind, what is our purpose? And we've been raised to think that our purpose is to become this or become that. And what child hasn't heard, oh, do you want to be the president of the United States? Or do you want to be a world leader? Or do you want to be an incredible brain surgeon on all this? And we've been led to believe that we have to have that type of title or something to have purpose. I truly believe that purpose is actually a feeling.
Yeah.
That my purpose here is to feel good about myself. And
Mhm.
to, because I feel good about myself, it has this beautiful ripple effect where people are mirroring that and they're feeling good about themselves as well. And so when I
Mhm.
hear this, what another image that I got as well was me out mountain biking even more than I am now, because I feel good when I'm out mountain biking. And I
Yeah.
have, it's not like my life stops because I'm out mountain biking. I do some of my best thinking sometimes out mountain biking, but I'm
Mhm.
in a space where I'm feeling good. And
Yeah.
that I think is recognizing what your purpose is at the end of the day. And your purpose truly is to feel good,
Yeah.
to feel loved.
Yeah, that gives me a lot of resonance because as I've thought about this over the past few days, we have been imprinted to believe that not just be president of the United States or some version of a world leader, but the trajectory to get there is this working class. This, I call it indentured serviceness. And then if we do that, then we get to be retired and then we get to live on purpose. We get to be happy. And we're forgetting the missing ingredient that we can be happy in this very moment. As someone is listening to this, if you're not feeling happy, why? What is it about you? It is a feeling, and that feeling of purpose is so vital. And I think that is really the best version of what this world could look like. The way you just described it is that we are all walking around on purpose in that knowingness that we are here with a gift, whatever this beingness is. So I think this is just brilliant. And I would love to take this conversation longer and longer and longer. And yet it's time to wrap it up. I want to end by asking you, imagine your future self. So I know that's easier for a shaman than it is for some of the rest of us. Your future self, it's about time for you to make your transition. And you are so much wiser than you even are now. And you have a message to give to the world. And now I don't know when that's going to be, and I don't know what your inner future self is saying to you, but she has a message. So channel that message for us and deliver it to this audience, which is a global message.
I'm hearing the words, it's in the breath. And I'm hearing as well that it's in that mantra that I am open with no expectations, no limitations, and I am creating my outcome.
Mhm. And if we could all just do that, what a magnificent place. And it's really fun to think about that nirvana or the garden of Eden, because that's really what it always sounds like, is that we're just here loving each other, being connected, being aware, and being on purpose. So Miss Galactic Shaman Sandra Pelly, it has been an absolute delight. I feel overflowing with energy. I'm just literally getting goosebumps again because this is what the magic of Zoom is because you can feel the energy even though we're sitting in different places. It is cosmic. We live in a cosmic world, universe, and it is all connected. And I'm just so blessed that we connected and that you were able to give us some of your wisdom and share some time with us today. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for the opportunity to show people that they have the power themselves.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.